World War II proved to be the undoing of countless communities and families. Relationships were torn apart and loved ones were taken too soon. And while these tragic tales have inspired numerous novels and films that will leave you reaching for a tissue, this is a love story that stood the test of both the war and of time. Isabel Whitney and Preble Staver are one couple whose love not only survived the war, but also numerous other obstacles. Although their relationship deserves its own film, their first meeting was surprisingly ordinary. They met on a blind date, in fact, in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. It seems that the old dating method works after all. Their relationship flourished, but before too long, the pair had signed up to the U.S. war effort. Isabel offered her nursing skills to the Navy and was sent to Maryland, while Preble joined the U.S. Marine Corps. For the entry of the war, then, they were separated from each other, but they never forgot the time they'd had together. While he was a Marine, Preble was awarded a Bronze Star for his contribution to the war effort. This award is given to anyone within the U.S. Armed Forces who has performed a heroic service or act. The specific actions for which Preble was honored are unknown, but it seems that he served his country with selfless commitment and pride. The war ended in 1945, although it was almost half a year before Isabel and Preble would be reunited. They wasted no time in confirming their love for one another, and their wedding took place in February 1946. The couple would eventually have a grand total of 5 children together. One of their children, Lori Staver Clinton, spoke to NPR in November 2017 about what her parents were like at home. Her father was known to be a larger-than-life individual, while her mother was more tender. Staver Clinton described her as my heart because she taught me how to be a kind person, how to be a compassionate person. Staver Clinton pointed out how different Isabel and Preble were to one another. While her mother had a forgiving attitude towards other people, her father, by contrast, was a prickly pear. She described their dynamic saying, "Dad was the strict one. Mom tried to be strict, but we knew what we could get away with her. It was pretty much a father rules the roost sort of thing." Isabel and Preble successfully created a family together, nurturing their 5 children. They led an itinerant life due to Preble's employment as a banker and lobbyist. Isabel continued to look after the children while Preble worked, and when the children were old enough, she went back to being a nurse. However, life wasn't all plain sailing for the family, and in 1975 they endured the most painful of tragedies. Their son, Peter, passed away after suffering a serious injury while playing football at school. For Isabel and Preble, dealing with the grief was their greatest challenge yet. The couple vowed to support one another in the aftermath of the tragedy, and this in turn brought about a change in her father. "We began to really see a softer side of my dad," Staver Clinton said. "Parents aren't supposed to bury their kids, and that really took a toll on my folks, but it also brought them together." In time, Isabel and Preble overcame the family's devastation and proceeded to make the most of their own lives. They continued to move around and experience new places, even residing on a golf course at one point, and eventually they settled in Virginia. After moving permanently to Virginia, it became clear that Isabel was in the early stages of dementia. As a result, in 2013, the couple were relocating to a care home. They were later moved into separate rooms, as the distress of seeing his wife's decline was proving tough for Preble to take. After decades by each other's sides, it was another shock to the system. Although their living arrangements had changed drastically, the strength of their love for each other never faltered. Staver Clinton recalled the ways in which the pair preserved their special connection. She revealed that Preble would visit Isabel's unit, and the first thing they'd do was put their hands out and hold each other's hand and tell each other they loved each other. While the majority of her memories faded, Isabel could always remember her darling Preble. Staver Clinton recalled moments when her mother clearly recognized her father, even in the latter stages of her illness. "Sometimes we'd have to tell her to focus and look," Staver Clinton said, "but when she looked and knew it was Dad, she'd get that little smile." At times, Isabel didn't understand why she needed to be kept away from her husband. Staver Clinton described her mother's confusion, saying, "When I would explain the need for the separation, Mom would go, 'But that's Daddy, that's Preble.'" Even in her demented state, she had that compassion and understanding that my dad's reaction to some of the disease process wasn't really a reaction to her, and she still wanted to be with him. The couple's sacred bond was still as strong as ever, and on his 96th birthday, Preble decided to enjoy his wife's company, doing one of the things they liked best, perhaps for the last time. He requested to have a nap with her. His wish was granted, and they lay peacefully next to one another, holding hands for a few hours. And Preble's birthday was about to get even better, because later on, without any prompting, Isabel started singing Happy Birthday. Staver Clinton was as shocked as anyone else. "I heard this warbly little voice and I realized, oh my gosh, Mom's singing," Staver Clinton told people, and she sang the song twice. She didn't miss a word. Just days after Preble's birthday, however, Isabel was close to breathing her last. Preble was taken to a room and said his last goodbye to his companion of 70 years. He held her hand and it was just so tender, Staver Clinton recalled. "I asked him if he wanted to stay after the prayers and he shook his head. I said, okay, but you know that means you're going to have to let it go of her hand." I was crying and he was crying. Moreover, a mere 14 hours after Isabel passed away, Preble died. Jim Need, the couple's minister who performed Isabel's last rites, believed Preble could have been clutching on just to say goodbye to Isabel properly. "I honestly feel he was waiting for her. The Marine mentality," Need said. He was going to take care of her until he knew she was okay. Isabel and Preble's loved ones congregated at Virginia Beach on the 10th of November 2017 for the couple's joint funeral. The day, which was also the anniversary of the creation of the Marine Corps, was attended by an honor guard in acknowledgement of Preble's services for his country. Having stuck together to the very end, the pair were buried next to one another so they could be together always.